All right. For the people on YouTube here, I skipped our overview about the internet and how servers sit on the internet and provide web services so that your web browser can go download the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It was a little lengthy and interactive, so I'm saving the recorded portion for the focus on modern web browsers with this presentation. So we really want to start with the web browser itself. I mean, maybe we all had Netscape way back in the day, or Internet Explorer, or Mozilla Firefox, or Firefox before it was Mozilla, or Opera browser, or Google Chrome, or Safari, or any number of wonderful utilities that have helped us connect to other web sites and web services over the decades. So, our web browser, it's good to redefine it now, today. It's that critical piece of software on our computer. It lets us, of course, get to the World Wide Web, which we still call the World Wide Web, but its job is to download all of the HTML and CSS and JavaScript and picture files like JPEGs and PNGs and videos and audio files and display it all for us as a formatted web page or as a web application for us to do something. So, for example, when you need to go and pay your gas bill, you log into the SoCal Gas website. They have a really nice website that feels like an application when you use it. And you log in and you have navigation and alerts, and you can find your bill and pay your bill and set up payments and contact them. And all of that is happening all inside of your web browser. It's pretty nice. So, we need to interact with the world somehow. There are lots of apps on your phone that do this for you, but even some phone apps are web browsers that are packaged up as a phone app. And the phone itself is a great web browser, whether you have an iPhone or Android. So it's really the way that we access the net, the services on the net. Our web browser is that thing in front of us, our screen out to the whole world. So let's see a little bit in more detail what it does. So first we have to manage these requests over this um, hypertext transport protocol. And really there's a lot of protocols when we're talking about the net and the web and how they all intermingle. But the web browser has to connect with that server. Let's say you're going to go and check on your Facebook group. Maybe you're one of the unicyclists that go on the trails in Orange County and you have a unicycle hiking group. That's a real thing, by the way. I found out about it recently. Um, you open up your browser to go to Facebook. The browser has to go get the DNS service to find out where the Facebook servers are, negotiate security with the Facebook servers, send the login information back to you, manage the secure transfer back and forth between your browser and the Facebook servers until everybody confirms, okay, we're secure, let's get logged in, and now where do you want to go? The web browser has to render all of the content so that you can see it, although sometimes it doesn't work, but most of the time it's pretty good. And whenever you click on something or fill out the form or hit submit, the browser takes care of all of that for us. Our browser is that front end that needs to make sure that when we try to go to a specific website, when you want to go to paypal.com, that you're not going to some other website. You can clearly see if it's a misspelling or something, but we also want the browsers to go and check, hey, is this already a known, has anyone reported this as a bad website? Different browsers have different levels of this. The browser also manages all the data that we store on our own computers, our session management information, the cookies, our browsing history. Do we prefer light mode or dark mode? That sort of information. Our web browsers being such a full featured application, they have this big architecture that I'm going to go through a little bit here. So first, most of our web browsers, not all of them now, but most of them are pretty similar. The address bar tends to be in the same place for most browsers. The navigation buttons, the tabs, they're usually on the top. Sometimes they're on the left, like you see on my screen here. My tabs are moved over to the left. Then the browser has to have some kind of software that takes that HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and turns it into something you can see on your screen. It's really dominated by Google, as we'll see later in class. Google Chrome is still dominating the web, and that's the Blink rendering engine. Excuse me, but Safari is also pretty well known and well used because of the iPhone mostly. That's WebKit. And then we also have my favorite browser, Firefox, which is here. That's the Gecko engine. On top of being able to show you the content, there has to be a way to run all of the fancy code, the JavaScript that's happening in your browser. That's all running at various speeds based on the rendering engine for that. And then you have to be able to have a network connection. And if we were to look into the browser on the developers tab, we could see sometimes dozens of network connections whenever you go to a website. Excuse me, sometimes a website will go to one server to download the content, other servers to download images, and maybe dozens of other servers to download ads and ad information. So there also needs to be a way for us to see all the things around the website in the browser, like what does this button do or that button do, or how do we get Chat GPT here or Bing or whatever it is, whichever browser you're using. And the browser itself has to be able to store data on our computer on our behalf. So just for instance, you can see this V8 is used in Chrome and Edge and Opera, that they're all three of those are using Blink, and that's because they're all based on the same Chromium open source project that Google manages. Then we have Firefox and Safari. It's nice to have a little bit of diversity out there. So what are the features that those of us in the past might have been surprised or not surprised about? Well, for one, tab browsing. We didn't have tab browsing that long ago. It used to be you would open up a website, and when you wanted to go to another website, you open another window with that website, and you might have had multiple windows popped up all over the place. So tabs really fixed that for us. And I don't know about everybody, but I am I'm the kind of person that might have more than 20 tabs open at a time for long periods of time before I make myself clean them up. Then having the address bar, which tends to be at the top in most browsers, you can see it at the top of my screen over there. That that usually includes the place for you to type in that URL, the Uniform Resource Locator, or to search, whether you're searching Google or DuckDuckGo or Brave or whatever your search engine is. They tend to be integrated now. And then all the browsers have bookmarks that you can save so that you don't have to try and remember all of those sites. And you can go back and check your history. What was that place I was looking at that sold those things that I was trying to get? And then when you're downloading, because you might be downloading files to install or downloading documents to fill out, you might want to go back and say, when did I download that? What was the website? Where did I download it to? That's a big question. Did I put it on my desktop? Did I put it in my downloads? Is it in my documents? I don't know. Let me check the download manager. We rely on our browsers for privacy and security as well. So every browser today has some sort of private mode or incognito mode where it won't save the local data. When you go to a website, it's not going to keep a record of what you did in that session on your computer in the same way that a regular browsing session is saved, sometimes forever, on your device. Now, the browser vendor still has access to your browsing data, and the ISP still knows where you go. So it's not going into private or incognito mode isn't a complete protection, but it is a little bit of added protection. And then we have we're getting more, how can I say this? Our browsers are protecting us from advertisers and data brokers who are tracking us a little bit more than they have been in the past. And during the lab, I'll show you a website to check that, but you can turn on various levels of tracking protection on different browsers in different ways. Whew, that's a mouthful right there. And we also want to make sure that we have a secure connection. That's the S in HTTPS. So many browsers will also check if there's an HTTPS a link available, it will switch us to that if possible. And if we're going into a website, maybe a website that wants to ask us for our data and it isn't secured with a TLS certificate, we might get a pop up that says, hey, you probably don't want to go to this website, which is really great if you're doing online banking. But sometimes I just want to update my router and I don't need to get a big security notice that, yes, I know I'm logging into my local network. Anyway, little pet peeves. So, pop up blockers in the bad old days, there would be all these horrible pop ups that would take up your whole screen and people would freak out and turn their computer off. And browsers pretty much solve that by blocking pop ups. We have the ability to have the websites sort of checked in real time. Is this a good website? Is it a bad website? Is there known malware on there? Maybe the operating system or the browser will let us know. And we want our browsers to be updated regularly um, for multiple reasons, but there's always a security vulnerability being found in the browsers. So keeping them up to date on a regular cycle. Usually we can just allow auto updates, and Chrome and Firefox will update every few weeks, several times, maybe every 6 weeks. Windows will update, Edge whenever Windows updates or as needed, and Safari updates come pretty regularly. So, what other features are convenient and easy for us? Most of the browsers will have some sort of a built-in password manager. So if you don't already use 1Password or Bitwarden, but you use Chrome everywhere, well, you could usually keep your password stored in there, and it's probably better than um, what you might use if you didn't have a password manager. Lots of browsers will fill out forms for us if you always have to type your name and address into various things. Let's say you're ordering coffee to be shipped to your home every month and you got to fill out your address every month. It's kind of nice to have it autofill for you. And then each browser has its own way of synchronizing that data between your devices. So if let's say you're a Windows and Android, you have a Windows computer and an Android device, but you like Firefox, you can sign into Firefox on your Windows machine and sign into Firefox on your Android phone or tablet. Open up Firefox and you can see the tabs that you had open on either device. So if you were, oh, what was that website I was checking out? You can open up your Firefox and see the sessions from your other devices. And Chrome has that, and Apple does that with Safari. There's for the technical folks, we have the ability to inspect the code of every website that we go to and see where all the different assets are coming from. We can look into the performance of any given site by seeing all the network connections that it goes to. This is largely for developers when you're making the app, when you're the responsible party for that. But sometimes it's just interesting to go look and say, what's going on with this website? Or what's the code that did that thing? So that's kind of fun. All right, so let's just go through some of today. This is February 2026. Google Chrome, it's still most popular. And I have to give Google credit. They spend a large budget, a lot of time and effort on updating and securing Chrome. So while they are the majority browser, I think that they've earned it by providing a good service to people. People don't use Chrome because they hate it. People use Chrome because it's fast and it works. Firefox is the browser that kind of started it all. Mozilla, coming from Netscape, they kind of invented most of the technology that we're using here every day of our lives. So I like the fact that Mozilla is still open source. They're still in business. I don't know how they're figuring it out, but I like Firefox as a decent privacy focused browser that everything still works on. Some of the privacy focused browsers, not everything works as well as you'd like. Being a Mac user myself, I think Safari is fantastic. It is really good. It definitely is better on battery life than anything else. And WebKit is reliable. It's different than Google. Google Chrome does have sometimes experimental or newer features that you might not get in Safari for a couple of versions, but it's okay because everything works. Then if we go to Windows computers, they come with the Microsoft Edge by default, and that's kind of it's Microsoft's twist on Chrome. They're using the same base that Google's using, but they're putting in their own extensions, their own operating system integration. They've had AI integration since early on, since it was called Bing. Now it's called Copilot. And Microsoft Edge has been pretty good at enabling security features for Windows users, including sandboxing some websites. Sandbox means that some websites can be running but don't have access to the rest of your computer. So those are pretty good features. And of course, long time beloved browser, Opera. In the days of Windows XP, I was a diehard Opera fan. I loved the Opera browser then. Now they kind of had to get had to go along with everybody else. It's another Chromium browser with a pretty good company behind it. They have some good features. They have a built-in Opera VPN. They have built-in ad blocking like Brave does. They have some other productivity tools integrated. So if you're an Opera fan,
They
you're
have
in.
an actual VPN built in.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Is that's the only one that has that, isn't it?
Well, we can always add VPNs, and we would
Oh
add
yeah.
them with a browser extension. Oh, I see a typo, and this is supposed to be a speaker note for me. Whoops, I meant to fix that. I'll fix it later. So
So do
with
you don't need to pay for a VPN if you're on Opera, is that it?
no, we'll have to go look at the Opera website, but I don't think you get very much for free. As far as VPNs go, a good free VPN that gives you some decent usage is the Proton VPN, and that's what I'm using on one of my laptops. Even though I have a pay VPN for the rest. So if you wanted some functionality like Opera has in other browsers, you can just add an extension. So extensions give you password manager integration. They let you control different websites and add advertising access. You might have enhanced screenshots or other services that you want to use through extensions. It's also largely unprotected market with thousands and thousands of extensions as malware. So I would be real careful with browser extensions, and we'll talk about some of those. So ad blockers, very popular. Password managers. There are some VPNs. Oh, another typo there. Wow. There are literally thousands of fake VPN extensions in the Google Chrome store. So if it's not a name brand or if it says free, as far as the VPN, I would avoid it unless you happen to know. Oh, it's Express, it's Nord, and we've talked about some of those in class in with the VPNs. You might have writing tools like Grammarly. I recommend to all my younger college students just get Grammarly installed. It helps so many people. Or if you're using Notion, it's nice to get web clips. Or I should add Zotero to this list if you're doing research or screenshots. And extensions, what happens is you install this extension. This is somebody else's code and you install it on your computer in your web browser that does the most important things for you. And you just sort of trust that whatever they do is fine. Does that sound bad? It sounds bad when I say it like that because it is. You should be very careful with any extensions you install. The latest round of extensions have been hijacking the clipboard so that, let's say you were going to send some Bitcoin to somebody, they would put their own Bitcoin wallet in instead of whatever one you were going to paste in. They would just use it to say, oh, I'm going to just copy and paste so I don't screw this up. And they would just paste in somebody else's wallet, and now your money's gone forever. So be extra careful with those. Make sure one, just because you're at the Chrome Web Store doesn't mean that it isn't malware, but it's a good step. Check the Chrome Web Store. If you're installing Firefox, you go through the extensions add-on and go through the Firefox store. Maybe do some vetting and then decide, do I really need it? I don't know. Safari installs extensions through the Mac App Store, which it makes it easy to install the same extensions on multiple computers. But let's, for our extension, think of it as you were putting an app on your phone. There's plenty of apps you don't need on your phone. There's plenty of apps you do need on the phone, but you might not install every app on your phone just because it said free. So same thing with extensions. Check the permissions. See, even, I put this check your developer reputation, but something that's been happening with the extension marketplace is a person that was running an extension that was popular for years, they've been offered large sums of money by other companies to sell their extension and their million users. And then that company turns around and puts ads or tracking or malware into the software that they purchased so that you used to trust. So I would just check on my extensions on a regular basis. Make sure they're not asking for permissions. There's no reason that your screenshot tool and your browser should have access to all of your contacts on your computer or something like that. It's nice that our browsers are getting better at security. They are isolating web content. They are isolating websites from each other. We're getting certificate validation in mostly real time. So if there's a bad security certificate out there, we're finding out rather quickly with various methods. And the browsers have been responding well to uh, the long prevalence of website attacks, where you go to one website, but another website is doing bad things, across different websites. We're also getting some warnings if we go to a website that may have been reported to be doing phishing or may have been reported as malware. So our browsers are uh, they're doing well for us. So what browser is the right browser? Honestly, we're probably going to have multiple browsers for any of us. I don't know that you could say, well, this is my one and only browser and that's it. There is something to saying I want to use this one browser and then I know how to use this browser and I use the same browser everywhere and I know where the settings are and I know where the extensions are. But you might need multiple browsers, and one of those could be, maybe you want to have Firefox because it's privacy focused, or maybe you prefer Brave because it's actually a little better for privacy than Firefox is. Or maybe you want Safari because they have these intelligent tracking features, or you need Chrome because every website says, oh, they prefer Chrome or something. Like it drives me crazy with Canvas. Every time I log into Canvas, Canvas works better with Chrome. I'm like, just make your website better. Make the website work better. We could focus on speed over privacy and security. Um, Edge is really fast on Windows most of the time, unless you're on a heavy ad website. Part of that is a little trick, though. Windows runs Edge in the background so that when you launch it, it's sort of ready to go. It's kind of nice. So this is just personal for you. Maybe you like the customization of Vivaldi, so you choose Vivaldi. It's a Chromium based browser, it's fine. If you're on a small laptop and you're traveling a lot, battery and performance is going to be important. If you're on a big desktop and you have a giant screen and you want to, have 10 browsers open, you might want to have that, or extensions. I know for me, I like to have certain extensions, and those matter to me. So the extension will determine whether I want to use a browser or not. And do you need it to be synchronized? Boy, it's awfully convenient to sit down on your second device. Let's say you keep an iPad over on by the couch on the coffee table, and you're thinking, what was that website I was just looking up? And you can just open it right up. That's pretty nice. So, what do you think's going to happen here? Well, we're getting AI integration, or complete AI integration with all the browsers. Now the feature is going to be the ability to turn off AI integration. I think that's going to be a big selling point for some browsers. Firefox had some kind of announcement like that. We'll have to look at. Some browsers like Brave are really focusing on privacy. DuckDuckGo focusing on privacy. Other browsers on performance. Some browsers on being able to bring all of your web app ecosystem together. So that's kind of nice, depending on what you want. So if we just remember that our browsers are very complex software that is our interface with the net, that we're really depending on our browsers for our security and our privacy, that browser extensions may be great and wonderful and necessary, and they can also expose us to malware, and that you might want to have different browsers for different things. That's okay. And keep all your browsers updated. So after the video and after the break, we'll talk more about different browsers and browser features. We will look at some extensions and see if we can figure out whether it's safe or not to install, and go through some privacy settings in different browsers.
I have a
So
question.
let me end this video for everyone, and then I'll take
Okay.
all of those questions if you don't mind. On the YouTube video, I'll have to get a link to these, but if you wanted to learn more about any of these topics, you could just look up MDN Web Docs or web extensions, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you, and I'll be taking questions off the video.